Maruchan superfans are everywhere. From the busy moms who want to deliver maximum flavor in a flash to dorm room diners who want to put some slurp in their step. There are a ton of copycats you could use, but if you want to bless your bowl, there's only one true Maruchan. Whether you choose instant lunch, ramen bowls, yakisoba, or restaurant quality gold, Maruchan is the only ramen worth obsessing over. Smiles for all. Maruchan. See what all the ramen hype is about at maruchan.com.
I wanted to talk about all these past fuck-ups because I think our brutally honest stories can help people feel less alone and feel less shame. Because shame is what keeps us drinking. Oh, and I also want to find that guy that gave me chlamydia in 1997, Lucy.
Did that really happen?
Let's move on to the next part.
Do you think he might be listening?
Let's move on to the next part of the podcast.
If you're listening,
Steve.
So you knew his name. Well done.
Of course I didn't know his name.
Anyway, Vic's email address is vic@drunkmummiesovermummy.com. Yeah. But look, we are going to start our discussion today with a fact because Vic's done some research around why alcohol makes us feel invincible, because after all, it's that invincibility that gets us doing all these ridiculous things. So tell us your fact.
Well, fact is, Lucy, it's all to do with GABA. GABA is a major neurotransmitter in the brain which controls much of the anxiety we feel. When our brain cells get overly excited, GABA is released into the brain to calm these cells down. When alcohol binds with these certain GABA receptors, it affects the transmission from our brains. In other words, something that makes us nervous in a normal situation can be altered with alcohol, thus giving us a sense of relaxation and a false mindset of security.
So not only do we not have a stop button, but we don't have a nervous button either.
Yeah.
You know, that feeling where we should think, hold on, this is the wrong thing to do. So yet again, you know, there is a scientific reason why we do these things when we drink.
Yeah, we shouldn't feel so bad about ourselves because that's naturally what's going to happen if you drink. So
I'm glad we've said that because
don't feel
this
too
is
guilty.
a really uncomfortable podcast
it is a bit,
me.
We are going to talk about things we're not proud of, which we do a lot. But we don't mind. We don't mind because everybody's been there.
Yeah, well, not everyone.
Well, everybody's been here. We are talking about promiscuity, of course.
Yes, we are starting with we're diving in at the deep end here, aren't we? Because this is a really uncomfortable one for me, and I'm sure it is for you as well.
Well, I must say it was all before I got married, of course, and I was drunk. So I wasn't capable of making great decisions. And when I travelled the world, I could sleep with someone one night and move on to another town the next day. I never had any repercussions to sleeping with people, even if I didn't really like them that much, which probably I didn't because I'd met them in a bar in a blackout. But yeah, I do have a history of being quite promiscuous when I was younger.
When you'd had a drink as well.
And the drink made me feel invincible. So I didn't really consider my own safety when I was being led down dark alleys with strange men. And also I was very easily talked into anything because I wanted people to like me. So if a guy showed an interest in me, I was like, oh, well, he likes me. I'm going to show him I like him back by sleeping with him. I mean, that was how my brain worked.
It's taking people-pleasing to a whole new level.
Absolutely, Lucy. That is exactly what it is. I mean, I just wanted people to like me. And I thought, well, he's going to show me he accepts me and I'm a good person, I'm funny and everything. So I may as well sleep with him. I didn't really think about myself in those situations.
It's almost as if they want to sleep with you, you've managed to prove that you are this really cool, amazing person, which isn't right at all. No. They just sleep with you because you're an easy lay.
But it was sort of like a short-term buzz. It was like I would go out, I'd have a few beers, and then I would relax inside my brain and think, well, I'd become more free and more open and more easy, exactly what you say. And then it was like, right, I want to kind of snare a man because that will fulfill some need within me, which was the need for love, I guess, deep down. And I think I always thought that those situations would lead to something. That was always my hope. I mean, women, we're very, sensitive. And I think deep down, sleeping around, it might seem quite brash and laddetty and all of these horrible things. But I think deep down, I felt like I was going to get a boyfriend out of it.
And you were looking for love as well.
I was looking for love, exactly. So it's sad, really.
It is, yeah.
I used to lie in bed the next day afterwards, with the sheets up to my chin, feeling very sad for myself because they'd gone off with a...
I was going to say, was he still in the bed at that stage?
Normally he'd done a runner by then.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately. The quick story I want to tell about my promiscuity before I let Lucy tell me her awful ones was a perfect example of myself putting myself at risk. Was accepting a drink from a dodgy guy that I'd never met before on a beach in Byron Bay in the I think it was the millennium year. And I remember thinking as I took the glass from him that I shouldn't have drunk it because I didn't know him and I just felt that he was dodgy. The reason I thought he was dodgy was because he had a tattoo of a cross on his forehead.
So, yeah, you had a little just feeling he might have been dodgy.
I don't know. I just thought, oh, wow, cool, he's got a cross on his forehead.
And I as you drank more, you just thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
Well, no, I don't remember anything after that glass because I think it was Rohypnol in there. Oh, yes. So
that's not funny.
No, it wasn't funny. So this is like my worst risk I've ever put myself at. So I knew in the moment that I took the drink that I felt in danger, but I took the drink anyway. And the next thing, I don't remember anything, and I woke up the next day. But I had to say to my friends what on earth happened. And the guy had actually dragged me off up the beach on my own and they found me. My friends luckily saw that I'd gone missing and they found him on top of me trying to kiss me. And it was all very, very dodgy. And they pulled me out of that situation and carried me home in a fireman's lift back to where we were staying, back to the backpackers. So luckily my friends stepped in. But if that situation had gone any further, I literally have no memory of it whatsoever. So there's a perfect example of me just going into a situation, being brash and being, I'm going to be the life and soul of the party and taking drinks from anybody. I actually only had one drink, which was drugged, and that led to that situation. So, yeah.
And it just could have gone so wrong so quickly.
Could have been life-changing for me, that situation.
And I think when things like that happen, because I did have a similar situation, I don't know if you remember the V festivals in England, Vic, and I remember going to one of those and it was I think it was a 1 or 2 night festival. We were staying just for one night and I just drank so much. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if there was Rohypnol involved because I just disappeared. No one knew where I had gone for about 12 hours. And I've got one memory of being in a tent with just men.
Right.
And I don't remember, almost like just one tiny flashback.
Yeah.
They were just sitting there and I was sitting there. And then I eventually found my way back to my own friends and they had no idea where I'd been.
Right.
I had no idea where I'd been. I had no memory of it whatsoever. Now, the horrificness of that is just huge. And how I dealt with it is just by putting it out of my mind. What do you do? You dwell on that. It just kill you because you actually don't know what happened.
Yes, you probably end up even drinking more because you'll just feel such shame and stuff. You shouldn't feel shame in those situations because that it probably was drugs involved and it really isn't your fault. But it's the not knowing, isn't it? The whole not knowing of those blackouts and those situations like that. I mean, a lot of people have experienced things like that. More people than you could ever imagine. It's just the two of us sat in here.
Yes.
We have stories about these things that happen in our lives and we are putting ourselves hugely at risk and things can happen. People take advantage of those situations. It's never our fault. We are the victims in these situations, but if I hadn't been drinking, I don't believe those things would have happened to me.
No, that's right. And I think that when they do happen, we bury them so deep inside us because we're so ashamed of them. And even now, after being sober for a while, looking back, I literally feel a bit physically sick when I think about the occasions and the situations that I've got myself into. And that blackout thing is just terrifying.
It is terrifying.
And the more you think of it once you're sober, the more terrifying it is. You have no idea what you're doing, but you are still functioning, doing something which is, you're not even behaving in any way close to the person that you are when you're sober.
No.
You're just out there being a complete and utter dick.
Yeah.
And you don't have any control over yourself and people can do whatever they want with you. Horrifying.
So frightening. I mean, that situation now, if that had happened to me now, that would be a police situation.
Yes.
I'd be like, this guy tried to do this. And, I would have dealt with that very, very differently. But back then, I just carried on. I drank it away. And in fact, the next night I went out, Lucy, and I drank petrol.
Oh, why was that?
Well, there was nothing else left. So I picked up a petrol can and took a swig. And then I came through. I can't believe I'm telling you this. I came to and I was thinking, God, this person's really nice that I was chatting to. I was like, oh, God, he's got really interesting conversation. He really doesn't interrupt me. And then I realised I was talking to a rock. It was the best conversation.
Did it have a cross on its forehead?
No, but I actually had been talking to a rock for about half an hour.
So you were.
That's what
you were
happens when you drink petrol, people. Don't do it.
Don't. Well, yes.
Yeah. He was a good listener. Crazy. I
wonder
know.
how long the conversation went on for.
I don't know. I don't really know.
It reminds me of Tom Hanks in Castaway with, what's his name?
Wilson. Rocky.
Did you take him off travelling with you?
It was a massive rock. It was like one that you couldn't move. Yeah. I think I slept with him. I can't remember though. I was stoned. Sorry.
That is really good.
Sorry.
Oh, but and there you have it, Vic. Though you had this terrifying event happen that you were so lucky to get out of in one piece, alive, or not raped, or goodness knows what was going to happen. But instead of facing facts and thinking, right, I need to sort myself out, I shouldn't be getting that drunk, I'm putting myself in dangerous situations.
Yeah, never consider stopping drinking.
No,
never, ever even crossed my mind in that moment to go, maybe I shouldn't have done this, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I mean, I was 23 years old. I just wasn't, that was not on my radar at all.
No, instead you go on and you drink some petrol and talk to a rock, instead of sorting yourself out. You're probably so deeply ashamed and worried. You don't want to face what's happened, and alcohol numbs out everything.
Yeah.
So you're really on this downhill spiral when you start sleeping around and getting yourself into this situation because you start to hate yourself more and more, and so you do it more and more.
That is so true. It's that I've written about that in my book. I have a whole chapter on that. It's called International Sex, which is when I realise now that I was repeating the same patterns, and the patterns were making me feel worse about myself. Why do I do this? Why do they leave? Why can't I get a boyfriend? So therefore my behaviour got worse because I didn't care about myself.